What do you hate about
me?
me? Sometimes I think that sometimes I want to like think deeply about a topic and you're just like, you don't always want to like have like the deep dive or like think deeply about something, right? You want to like get it done, say it beyond, move on to the next part. And I need to process in the moment by talking and working it out. And you're already like 10 steps ahead of me. You're like, I've done it and I want to move on.
I'm the instant gratification whore. Like, let's get to the
IGW. I want to sit in the muck and dissect it.
Hey, Nicole, what do you get when a former corporate CEO and a do-gooding executive walk into a recording studio?
Well, Erin, nothing, because the two of us are usually on my couch or Zoom because wine.
You get a podcast created for Gen X women who are bought into the corporate world but fed up with the BS.
I know. It's how to thrive the 9 to 5 or 6 or 7.
It's career therapy. It's comedy. It's definitely full-on authenticity. Basically, we give you tangible strategies to rise in your career without compromising everything else.
Because work doesn't have to suck.
Hey, Nicole. Hey, Erin. Time for another podcast episode. Because it is number 200. The notorious NLG.
The notorious NLG is born.
Today, you are like mad treats in this episode. It's so good. It's like Halloween and Christmas and Easter. 2 Easters all rolled into one.
It's so much fun. So for our listeners, we're actually jumping on, just to give you a quick intro, we decided for our 200th episode to invite one of our longtime super supporters, Heather Pierce, on to interview us. And so we wanted to go a little bit backwards and a little bit behind the scenes. And she asked us some great questions. And it was like usual. It was funny and silly and inspirational and all the things.
And mostly like on track. I will say it's just funny because, you are so forward looking, Erin, that, looking backwards, sometimes not your favorite thing to do, but you were very interested in the retrospective. You were very well behaved. You were awesome. You brought it. Also, I mostly stayed on track with the questions. Mostly. I was able to bring it back, but
you did. You're very disciplined. You were very buttoned up at first, but then, we quickly
I had my neurodivergent moments. Well, I had to get like the lay of the land first, It was the first time I met Heather. I was getting the lay of the land. And I jumped right in, just let it rock. Once my first F-bomb dropped, I was like, all right, we're good now. We're comfortable. Yeah. I didn't know what was going to happen. I was trying to be together for the audience, but I think what they got was what they've always gotten, which is us, authentically us, just, bringing it as we always have. And we're going to keep bringing it. I don't think this is the only 200. Like, we're going for 300. It's going to be Sparta next.
It'll be Sparta next. Yeah. So listen, and if you're a longtime listener, I think you'll enjoy sort of the behind the scenes because Nicole and I well, and we talk about some things we've never talked about. If you're newer to the podcast and you're like, who the hell are these weird chicks? Like, this will somewhat bring you up to speed and just give you a little more context of who we are and what we do and why we do it and what we hate about each other and all of the things. So enjoy this interview that Heather did, this interview takeover for episode 200.
I am gonna kick it off here with the 200th podcast episode, interviewing Erin Nicole, our wonderful normal podcast hosts.
And she said normal.
Right. I mean, kind of normal. All right. We're going to use that word very loosely, right? So
normal.
Exactly. So I'm going to take it way back. We're going to start at the beginning. And the very first question I want to ask you two is, how did you actually meet? And I know you've talked about this probably throughout some of your other episodes here and there, but we all need to know, how did you two meet? And what is your number one favorite trait about each other?
Well, Nicole, you tell this story because my memory sucks.
Okay, so there's a little bit of context here. So I was working for a company called Accenture at the time. Erin was not. But my boss was your downstairs room, downstairs neighbor. Downstairs neighbor. Okay, so my boss was her downstairs neighbor. It was a bunch of young people, consultants. Everybody was sort of, in class. Everybody was young and having a good time. One of the sort of more senior-ish young people had bought a house and was hosting a Halloween party. And I decided to go because my boss was like, you should come. You're fun. You should come. That's great. I decided to go to said Halloween party. Erin was also invited because said boss, this wonderful woman, Sherry, is a connector and was like, brought everybody to everything. So Erin and Sherry and their like people are all there dressed up really normally. Like, I think you guys were dressed like athletes or something or superheroes. I can't remember. You guys had like a cute unit costume of like 4 people. I showed up dressed as Roller Girl from Boogie Nights, including miniskirt and roller skates. Skated all over this dude's house, drunk as hell all night, tore up his brand new floors. Okay. And Erin, I think Erin and group were either like, okay, we're either going to hate this bitch or we're going to love her forever. And then they adopted me. That is essentially it. Then I was essentially in the fold after that, after the Roller Girl situation. This dude wasn't that cool anyway.
Yeah, this is back in our 20s. So it's funny because the question you ask Heather is, what's the trait? Like the follow-on question. That's what I love most about her. And it's not just like the roller skates. That's what I love about Nicole. If you ever hang out with her, and hopefully you feel it on the podcast, but in person, like anytime she shows up, it's messy. It's with a smile. It's a vibe, which is a word we sort of like coronated about 100 episodes ago or 50.
Totally.
She just brings this energy, this vibe, and it's always different. Like she's always got some either like funny, type of alcohol, or when she comes to the pool, there's always swim toys. Like there's just an energy and a vibe that comes with Nicole.
Nicole is a vibe.
Thank you.
I totally get that.
I like that. It's better than a verb. You're a vibe. I really like it.
I definitely like, I vibe with you and like that too. So
there are like a million things that I love and admire about Erin, which first of all, like 2 things. One, it's because Erin, and this is a little bit selfish, maybe a little sweet, but made me feel like I belonged from the start. And I am someone who has never really felt like I belonged anywhere. I've always felt kind of like an outsider. And she instantaneously made me feel like I was part of an inner circle and that I mattered. And that has been going on for 25 years. And I love the way that Erin lives her life like face forward all the time. Like she's constantly moving forward. Like things are good. And it's not that things don't matter and things to the right and the left and the side don't matter, but it's like there is just so much positive forward momentum. Like it's like a riptide. Like you can't help but be swept up in it and feel like I'm part of something great. Particularly people like me who are really good at second guessing and taking left turns. Like it's just amazing to be caught up in that kind of energy and just momentum. So that's what I love about Erin. That's 2 quick things. There's a million other things. Maybe the 300th episode, I'll get to add to that.
Aw, that's so sweet. I have to say too, I felt that from you too, Erin. So that's your vibe. You do put that out into the universe and make people feel.
I'm pretty sure that was the last time I wore a miniskirt too. Was when I met Erin.
Oh, and how many years ago was this?
I was 22, so it was 25 years ago.
Wow.
Yeah.
Okay,
Yeah.
it's awesome.
Yeah, and her boss. It's so funny to hear her tell the story. Her boss is like one of our best friends. So she, said boss is like there's 4 of us that are really close, and she's one of them. Yeah.
Yes. Yes.
That's awesome.
25 years of funny stories with all of us. Definitely.
All because of that Boogie Nights costume.
That's right. That's awesome.
Great job.
Thank you, Heather Graham. Thank you, Heather Graham, for that inspiration.
It's a great movie. So, next question, because, this is really important. 20 some odd years later, why in the world did you 2 even decide to start a podcast? Like, what happened? And I'd love to hear about like the very first time you ever talked about it. I'm sure there was drinks involved.
Not really, actually.
We should really do this podcast.
There was email involved. So I'll take this one to start. Okay. It's Erin. That was so formal. But we do hear sometimes, I don't know if that we sound alike. So we're we've been coached quote unquote coach that like sometimes you should say who you are because our voices could sound alike. I'm the one that sounds like they've had about 5 sips of wine. So that's Erin. So Nicole, first of all, I should start with, is the first person that even got me into podcasts. She must have told me 5 times back in like 2000 and what, like 14, 15, like listen to podcasts. And knowing Nicole as I did, she's also unique and different. And I'm like, I don't know, that sounds like a Nicole thing, right? Like that's weird. It's the same thing that people
Who
have.
likes audio with like Netflix? Like, what are you doing?
Like, what are you doing?
So retro.
And then she finally broke me. I got into cereal, sort of, like most people did, and got into it. And one day, I think we were down at her house, and I it almost like hovered above us in a weird way, and was like, "Holy shit! Our conversations are crazy. They are this insane roller coaster all the time between like deep intellect and like 5th grade boy humor and everything in between." And I remember thinking how unique they were. And then I was also, starting to think about starting Be Authentic Inc. It was actually still like this mushy thing in my brain. And I remember thinking, I wonder if people would want to hear that. And a part of it was inspired by things like My Favorite Murderer and I Mom So Hard, just sort of seeing these women that would have sort of spontaneous conversations, at least to start. I think they've gotten more scripted, that were humorous. And I thought, well, what if people would like to hear 2 chicks that are humorous, but also have something helpful to say, right? Like it's not just like stand-up comedy, or it's not just murder stories for entertainment. What if we could do similar, but in the sort of career workspace using that? So I had this idea, and then I was being coached, I think, at the time, and they taught me to do something. I now call it a future diary. I've kind of rejiggered it a little bit, but it was this, this concept of writing your most amazing day 1 year into the future. And I remember writing it out, and I wrote things like, just got off a stage doing a keynote locally because I knew I liked to speak, but I didn't like to travel. And then I drove down to New Haven, and Nicole and I recorded a podcast. And then afterwards, we went out and had drinks. Like, we can't get better. Like, this is so fanciful. And then what happens when you do this, and we did do an episode on this, maybe Rachel can put a link to the Future Diary episode that we did. What happens when you do one of those is you're like, then you read it and you're like, fuck, that sounds awesome. And then you're like, well, maybe I should take a step to do it, because this is how everything is. Like, it always starts. And I remember thinking, well, what's the first step for the podcast? I'm like, probably should ask Nicole. So instead of, waiting till we got together, because I'm an instant gratification whore, I couldn't do that, or giving her a phone call. We were going back and forth already in email because I was working on my bio, and I'm like, Nicole's an amazing writer, humorous, and bios are hard to do on your own. So I had asked her, can you kind of scrub this and give it some Nicole flair? And then I was like, P.S. at the bottom of this long email, would you like to do a podcast together? Here's kind of what I'm thinking.
Podcast proposal. Proposal. Podposal.
Yes, exactly.
Yes. I responded back like with the bio and the yes in like some record amount of time too. You were like, what? Yeah. And this was before like Chat GPT. Like, I wasn't using some AI app to produce your bio. I think I actually did it. Like, I was like, oh, I know this.
Like 20 minutes later, you had me there. And then it was probably like a month later, we had sort of planned to get together at her house to do some planning, right? To take the next step. And my friend Megan actually came down with us, who Nicole hadn't met yet, now knows pretty well. So I brought a friend along, and we went to her house. And I don't know that I had planned this. I can't remember how it worked, but all of a sudden I just like whipped out my iPhone and hit the record. I'm like, we're going to just freaking do this. And that
not
is episode
like,
1.
Not dressed for the occasion, obviously.
Well, it didn't have Zoom. We couldn't see video, ding dong.
Yes, and we took pictures, and I was like, wasn't dressed for the occasion. So obviously it was a surprise.
I'm pretty sure you were in your velour tracksuit. That's.
I was definitely in a tracksuit, and I had a vest on as usual. And
you did. Yeah. You had I had my black vest, whatever on. Your free vest you got at whatever company you were working for at the time.
It's right over here. I just took it off to record, actually. So that's by the way. It's like part of my anatomy now. Yeah. The black vest is part of my uniform. Yeah, in fact, I was wearing a puffy vest and I think like a sweatshirt and definitely track pants. And Mhm.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah. And I remember recording, and, first of all, for listeners, I mean, that was 199 episodes ago. It was episode 1. And what I did is I interviewed her. It was called Get to Know Nicole. And to this day, I have to look at this. It is still in the top 5 most listened to. And you know how long it takes you to scroll back to episode 1?
Yeah.
And that has probably been the most heartwarming thing for me, because back to Nicole's comment about like being seen, I have always felt like if people would slow the frick down and listen to her, and yes, she's a little bit kooky, she's a little bit different, but and embrace what is just this crazy velocity of a brain and intellect and humor and and caring. I mean, she's one of the most caring people you ever see. So honestly, I think even if we did this forever and like, I don't know, nothing came of it, we certainly don't make any money off of it right now. Just seeing how many people clearly intentionally go back to learn more about her after they get to know her, in a few episodes is like, it's my favorite thing.
That's awesome.
Thank you.
And what else has changed, like from what you were doing originally to now?
Can I say one thing I missed though? So a lot has changed, particularly Erin, us, like the branding of the podcast, the way in which, and I think some of it is ebb and flow, like the structure, sort of the way that we structure the topics, planning, not planning. We used to make some really funny videos and I miss those and hope we get to do more of them because Erin is an unbelievable improv, like person. She like her command of humor and improv is unbelievable. Like in the moment, in a room, like you will pee your pants. Like I seriously, I have peed my pants. I mean, because because it's a full body experience with Erin. So it's hilarious. Her reaction to things, her ideas are funny. And so she'll come up with a theme or a game or something. And then all of a sudden I'm basically just reacting to her humor. I mean, it's this unbelievable improv scenario with her in the lead. And some of these videos are straight. They were just some of the most fun things I've ever done in my life because I just get put in these humorous scenarios and then react to them. And those are my absolute favorite. Or like the podcast where we're like, have a game or we're making up like funny Christmas songs, like that we used to do more of that. We still do that, but that's something I love a lot and would love to do more of, even if it doesn't necessarily have a lesson. It's fun and entertaining.
Yeah, I mean the biggest, the biggest. I don't know if it's a change. Maybe I'll call it a challenge, a struggle. I do think we've gotten better at, one, we have a clearer target audience. Our guests are much more focused on focusing really on our target market, which is Gen X women who are, as we like to call it, bought into corporate. Like they're not looking to leave to be entrepreneurs, but they're fed up with the BS and burnt out from the BS. So we've gotten a little more focused in that sense. Our biggest challenge is we're not normal, and we're not normal on purpose. We are super authentic. We are off the cuff, a lot of improv, obviously, with a little bit of planning. Sometimes there's more planning than others. And that toggle between wanting to make sure that we don't, just go random places that don't serve people. But we've found that if we tighten it up too much, you lose what is unique about us. You lose some of the Nicole stories. In fact, there are stories on the cutting floor that we've definitely are going to release in sort of special episodes or in some way where we just got long, but the stories, there's not a lot of them we make a lesson out of them, but some of them are just freaking hilarious. So I mean that's the thing that's maybe been, we've honed it, but we still, I don't know if it's a struggle or it's something that Nicole and I think believe so strongly in, that it's more important for us to demonstrate authenticity than it is to talk about freaking authenticity. And we can't do that if we're completely like other programs. And we've had many people that have tried, people try to help you and serve you and steer you. Right. And so, but I think the fact that we're both kind of so resolved to something that's so unique, even if the numbers don't necessarily point in the direction after we do an episode. We're like, yeah, but like we know we have some super fans, super supporters. I'm calling them, like we consider you, that do get it. And if there's a few of them, and there's definitely more than a few, that we know that eventually there could be millions.
That's awesome. That makes me think of like, okay, so podcasting in general, and I'm not going to keep asking you about just about the podcast. We're going to dive into some of your background.
We love talking about our podcast.
But it's cool. Like, what are some of the misconceptions do people have about making a podcast and doing the work that you do? I'm sure there's quite a few.
Nicole? It's a good one. I think the first one that it's easy. Like, right? You just like show up, you record, and people don't realize that it's not just a hobby. It's, it's a vocation to some degree. Like this is even if it's not an official money-making side hustle, it's still something that it requires a significant amount of time and dedication. It needs professionalization. Often, we have folks in the background, Rachel, helping us, so it doesn't just happen magically. I mean, not to do it well. There's a lot of blah 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 crap out of there, but there's also a million podcasts that have 1 or 2 episodes because it's fun to make one. It can be really hard to make 200, right? Yeah. Unless you love what you do and it comes naturally. So this isn't for everybody. It's not easy and doesn't just like show up. And I also think that people think about podcasts as delivering something, like delivering a product. You're delivering advice, you're delivering great interviews, you're delivering information, journalism, book reviews, whatever. You're like delivering something that's like unidirectional. And I actually think that's, particularly for us, it is amazingly bidirectional. And that's one of the things that I love so much about this is that we've created a community, and that interaction with community like you has changed my life radically. Like this podcast makes me accountable to myself and others. And that has radically changed my life. So I also think that people might not realize that, you're it's not just a vehicle for dropping information. Like a podcast can be used for a lot of things. For us, it's like almost a form of, it's a form of community connection. For me, almost a form of accountability and in many ways therapy. Like I have had a hard couple of years, and I don't know if I would be as okay if it wasn't for this.
Yeah. Love that. I mean, the thing I would add, which is a little different than the question, which is, what are the misconceptions? But I think is also, along those lines is at least my vision and view, which, sort of I brought Nicole into a couple years ago, about a year into the podcast. I think so many people that would either advise us or would want to advise us, it's sort of like a podcast is primarily meant, as a funnel into your business. It's like a way to get out content, have people know, like, and trust you, and then either sell your business or sell other people's products, or sometimes both. And my vision is, I don't know if it's always, but for quite some time has been that this eventually, like, I want it to be a live show, something that you grab your colleagues and go to and both get inspired and have a lot of fun. It's like a hell of a lot better than a women's conference. And actually about 3 years ago, so about a year into the podcast, I had been thinking about that. I'm like, wouldn't it be great? Kind of like an I Mom So Hard, which again, they're mostly comedians making fun of motherhood. We are not comedians, but we are sometimes funny. Nicole's very funny. Like, and she's right. I'm more funny in person. Like I always call myself a boob on the podcast. Like I'm less funny over this medium. In person, I don't know what it is. I'm like a 3D, but, the vision was we could create something like that. That's not just funny, but also powerful and sort of inspiring and moves people forward. And so what was funny is the summer of 2019, and then I had thought, wow, that's going to take a really long time. We've got to build up an audience that we could sell tickets to, which has to be millions of people because it's a very small amount of people if you want to sell a live event. And then I was like, wait a minute, our people are already gathering. They're at these things called women's conferences. What if we are sort of a women's conference takeover, i.e. we take, whether it's in lieu of a traditional keynote speaker, or it's just an alternative way to, entertain and inspire the audience. And so it was summer of 19, and I was having lunch with a good friend who was is still, I think, the president over the Association for Women in Private Equity and Venture Capital nationally. And she's a good friend. She lives nearby. And she had talked about bringing me in for a keynote talk at one of at least the New York chapters. And I was like, yeah. And then I thought, what if I can convince Julie that we beta test this vision? Like, fast forward to Nicole's point, like, I'm always moving forward, right? Like, we fast forward this vision that I loosely had. And so I had lunch with her, and I remember thinking, like, we're going to have like a bottle of wine. I'm not bringing this up. We're going to catch up. I'm going to wait till she's a couple glasses in. And then she brought it up, and she's like, yeah, I still want to have you come speak in New York. And I said, well, I could come and give a kick-ass keynote, no doubt. Or I have this other idea, and it's sort of loosely, and I gave her like, and she's a little more conservative. But so I gave her enough to know it was different, but I also didn't know what the hell it was. And she's like, yeah, let's do it. So in the fall, I mean, a lot of people don't know this because it was right before COVID hit. So it was October of 19. And then, by the way, Nicole's like, what the fuck are we doing? Like,
Oh, I was totally like, I was on a train. I was like, what are you doing? Like, what is it?
We gathered some amazing friends of ours, a video crew. We did like 1-day rehearsal at your house. We basically, and then we sat on my porch. Remember the day we sat on my porch and we said, what are all the things? We literally just laundry listed all the things we hated about women's conferences. It was hilarious. It was like brainstorm session. I had like a piece.
I am really good at hating.
She's really good at hating. And like, we like wrote down like a bulleted list of 25. And like, what if we reversed every one of these? Like, we didn't have shitty food. We had good food. We didn't have panels.
Like, no
we had the
soul
audience
searching. Like,
yeah.
Yeah.
And so we created a funny video. Remember the video? Yes.
Yeah. That was
hilarious.
Yeah. There was going to be no like soul searching icebreakers or like, none of that.
There was going to be wine. There was going to be dancing. So we had about 50 women gathered. We opened. So we were backstage there. And this is, by the way, again, New York, women in private equity and venture capital. Like, you can't think of much more. I don't want to say stuffy, but people that have had to sort of conform.
Very formal.
Yes.
Right? Very formal. Like, by the book.
Conformist too. There were people there whose shoes cost more than my college education. I mean,
yeah,
really.
You're like, we're about to blow your minds.
I was like,
went to Yale.
I'm about to tell you something. Yeah, I want to tell you something, lady. I mean, there were handbags in there that I was like, I can either do this or I can steal that. And like, which one will make me more money? I mean, really, it was that kind of crowd. But they were all, there was a lot of uniformity too, right?
Yeah. So I mean, Heather, we opened it with a parody on When Harry Met Sally of me and Nicole sitting in my bed, but we made it look like two beds, and we did the whole like talking on the phone scene and pretending but we made it about Wave, and we wrote a parody. So Lizzo was just becoming mainstream big, and Feeling Good as Hell was out on the radio, and we wrote a parody which was Stressed as Hell about work and stuff. And so we opened it with a video. We took questions out of a box. We kept it very informal. We did a panel, but it wasn't us. It was actually people from the audience. And so they could, use their voice because they're not dummies too. We ended it with like dancing. We were definitely not sober. And it was amazing. We did a demo reel. We got it all put together. We're like, this is great. We had Minnesota. We had a couple events that were hot to trot to book us. And then COVID hit. So that's kind of a little behind the scenes. I mean, this is something, admittedly, and I haven't even talked to Nicole about this before. Like, I still have a vision. I don't have it on the Erin, like, pedal to the metal, because it's also like, I've had to build up my business. I've had to make a living. Right. And I'm a keynote speaker and coach. And I also, my kids are still, they're 15 and 12. And so traveling around and like putting all my time and energy into like something big like that, it's just not what I want. But I still have that vision, Nicole. Like, I haven't lost it. I think it's amazing. It's just one of those, it actually feels good to be like slow playing that. And maybe it won't be until we have 700 episodes. I don't know, but we will see.
Well, guess what? Here's the thing about me is that like, I have not as crazy a corporate job as I used to. I'm not traveling as much. I've got a lot. I don't want to say I have time on my hands. It's well used, but I'm kind of in control of my own destiny at the moment. So, hey, when you feel like, going full hog and want a partner in crime, like, I'm ready. You probably don't even have to tempt me with donuts or wine this time. I'll probably be like, yes, let's do this. I'll be like, we drink airport wine and get like some kind of really expensive and poorly made charcuterie in the airport. And I'll be like, definitely in. Definitely in.
Well, that's you anyway.
I'll be like, is there meat and cheese involved? Excellent.
Charcuterie board. For some reason, the movie He Said, She Said keeps popping into my head.
Oh, I haven't seen that.
Okay, it's like 1991. Oh God, I can't remember. It was a famous actor and actress whose names are escaping me. I can picture them. And there's this one scene where she gets really pissed off at him and throws a coffee mug at his face and hits him in the forehead. Not that you two would do that, but it was like the kind of hilariousness of them. I don't know. It's just funny.
Did you
You
Google
could
it,
be that.
Nicole?
I'm Googling it. Hold on.
He said
It's Kevin Bacon and Elizabeth Perkins. I didn't know her name. I did not know her name. I knew Kevin Bacon, but I didn't know her name.
Yeah, they're like, talk show hosts, and they have this he said, she said. I think their whole thing was that they like disagree on everything. Not that you guys do.
Yeah. No, I love it. I mean, that's awesome.
I mean, I wish this was a rom-com. I wish this was a rom-com. Not quite, right? Erin's already married. Like, she's no fun, but
Might be weird.
But you know what? I'm the boob, so I'll get all serious for a second. Like, I love that you bring that up because those types of things, like I mentioned, the I Mom So Hard and these different things, inspiration, back to the whole podcast thing. I would just say, not just for people listening that want to do a podcast, but for every freaking thing they do. Like, we get so caught up in having to do the playbook, and so many podcasts do that, right? It's interviews, it's the same formula, it's the same funnel, here's the success of what works. And guess what? People get sick of that. And so that's why I love every time I see something that's like he said, it's the 50% rule, which is my next book. It's like, take little things from all this stuff and come up with your own form of podcast or your own career or your own meeting or your own version of something. And I think that's what essentially Nicole and I have done, and hopefully we'll continue to do.
Be a disruptor.
There you go.
That's what I like to call it. Disrupt. Shake shit up.
Yes.
Go yell at trees. Or whatever the saying is. I don't know. That's what I say. I shake trees, yell at trees. Just do it different.
Scream at the wind, whatever.
Right. All the things.
Nicole, what are you doing over there?
I'm finally getting up off the virtual couch and making some career moves, just like you told me. And I came across your Authenticity Playbook.
Yeah. I forgot to tell you about it. This Authenticity Playbook I've had for a long time, and it's actually the most downloaded resource I have. It's basically 10 quote unquote plays, authenticity plays that you can make at work to stand out and get promoted and use authenticity as your strategy, your secret weapon.
I'm really going to take this to heart because despite all the sports references, I know that it's full of your awesome and your authenticity. And it probably is going to help me go far or go home or go big or whatever the sports reference is.
All the things. So listeners, if you also want the Authenticity Playbook, you can go to beauthentic.com/playbook. And you can make career moves like Nicole.
Whoop, whoop, Heisman!
So kind of staying in line with a lot of what we've been talking about, and I think you've maybe even answered this a little bit, but what's your favorite? Let's say it's two parts. What's your favorite and least favorite thing about doing the podcast?
I'd say my least favorite is my least favorite thing of anything. It's planning. Like, I fucking hate planning shit. I'm not a planner. So, but I've learned to find ways to get myself more excited about that planning. And also, I think that's part of the reason why we've made it to 200 and we'll continue. Like, Nicole and I really, I think, support each other and stay on each other's wavelength. Like, we do try to plan and we try to do stuff, but we're also really gracious. Like, if somebody's having a bad day, we're supposed to record, we don't. Like, I think neither one of us get like super like souped up, stressed out about shit. So I think that's a good thing. I mean, my favorite part is definitely getting to share Nicole. It sounds freaking weird and prostitutional, or like, I don't know what it is, but
somebody needs to, Erin.
It's just getting to share all.
You're in your podcast tip.
But that's it. You nailed it. Alliteration and everything.
Episode done. Erin is my podcast.
dropped.
I am.
Oh,
I am your podcast.
I love
fan.
that. I love that because I've been making up terms all day today. So I'm really I'm
Podcast
everything. Podcast pimp. Erin, will you be my podcast pimp forever?
Yeah.
And that's funny because my favorite thing about the podcast is getting to spend time with Erin. Like I get her time to myself, like, multiple times a month where we get to just catch up and chat, have these amazing, wild conversations that are so like natural to me, but there's not a lot of people who are willing to engage like that or don't have the time and the energy and the interest. And so it is not, these conversations they might be off the cuff and they might be organic and natural, but they are deeper and bolder than I think a lot of conversations that people have, even with some of their best friends, even with sometimes their partners and spouses and family members. We talk about everything. And, Erin is one of the people who knows me best in the world. In fact, she probably knows me better than myself in some ways, right? Because I'm really, really good at being like, telling myself something like that's not true. So, the thing that's hardest for me is that, like, this might sound really funny, but I'm a very discreet person my whole life. Like, in fact, I think because of who I am, I've kind of had multiple lives almost. Like, I've kept things very compartmentalized and very separate. And the podcast has brought that all together. And sometimes, there have been complexities in my life with the podcast, either people listening and hearing things that maybe they didn't want to hear, or information maybe being used against me. Sometimes it's even fun. Like, I know that some of my employees and colleagues listen, but there's always that little bit, like there's a little bit in my mind that feels like, because I am so vulnerable and I've been so vulnerable probably for the first time in my life, that there's some risk. And my life has definitely changed dramatically, in part because of the podcast. And most of that is really good, but you're just accepting that when you put yourself out there on a public forum, it's not necessarily a safe environment. So you have to be ready to accept what that comes with. And I frankly think it makes me pretty brave, and I think it should be admired. But, not everybody lives like this, and not everybody, feels that way. So
Yeah,
that has been the hardest part for me, I think.
yeah, she's been tremendously vulnerable in a way that, sometimes serves her, maybe sometimes doesn't. It definitely serves the audience. Be notorious is a word that she often throws around. I mean, that's sort of the mantra. It's like when it's feeling weird or risky or sort of question, like, I think at the end of the day, Nicole, though, is resolved to being notorious and everything that, the good and the bad that comes with notorious. And, when you're in it and some of the challenges, it feels hard and stupid. But in the end of the day,
It's so funny you say that because it's based on a Rumi poem, and I have it up here. It's a piece of it says, forget safety, live where you fear to live, destroy your reputation, be notorious. He's like a 12th century mystic or 13th century, Persian, Turkish mystic who a lot of people love. And I have that on my wall, and I think about that a lot because, just it helps me kind of be a little more like Erin, which is like, be bold, be forward facing, live without fear. And, sometimes it hurts. Like, we're all human, right? Like, sometimes these revelations or these movements or these shifts or things that happen, they hurt or they're hard or they're change, and we're all human. But in the end, it's serving, right? Because the universe is pushing you forward anyway. The universe is constantly expanding and moving forward. The universe is moving forward. Like, if you change, if you choose to stand still, you are moving backwards. And like, I am just trying to avoid, and my nature sometimes makes me maybe want to stand still. And I'm just trying to like be that forward-facing, fearless, notorious person who doesn't give a shit about reputation and, lives without fear. That doesn't mean live without consequence, but live without fear.
We need to start calling you the notorious NLG. And
another mic drop. That's a t-shirt.
It's a t-shirt. That's exactly what I was thinking.
Yeah,
that's
that's
VIG.
That's a full sweatsuit.
Especially because
That's a tracksuit.
Tracksuit. There you
while
go.
not my favorite Oboe rapper, as many people know, "Give Me the Loot" by the Notorious B.I.G. Is my favorite rap song of all times. I mean, particularly because if you listen to that song, like, you will hear someone who has found their calling in armed robbery and assault, and like, he is a true mentor to like the youth of the day. I mean, it's a song between himself and another person supposedly, but both him. I think it was supposed to be Nas, but he does both. And he's essentially coaching someone in how to like carry out assault and armed robbery. And I mean, it's an unbelievable mentoring session. I was like, this is a person who's found their professional calling and is really good at mentoring others. I was like, this should be our theme song. So
I used to say you should have that as like the intro outro music for this episode.
Yeah, if we wouldn't get sued.
Sell t-shirts.
give me the I mean,
NLG.
if you have, then it is NLG.
We have a whole merch line. It's done.
But Rachel, how many chords can you play before we get sued for infringement?
Right. Yeah. Oh, yeah. Oh, shoot. That.
Yeah, that bullshit.
I'm a bad boy.
Oh, my God.
I'm the co-host and also the makeshift lawyer.
Yeah.
Right.
Always thinking. So, like, kind of getting out of the podcasting, I know you guys talk about, well, Erin, we especially know what you do for a living because it's so much part of, kind of your thing, right? With the speaking and everything. And I don't want to spend too much time talking about your careers that you have today, but I always think one of the most exciting and interesting things to ask people is if you could literally drop everything today and go do exactly what you want to do professionally, what would it be? And maybe you're doing it. I don't know.
No, I mean, I'm annoying.
Podcast.
I'm annoying. Like it would be speak and write, and which is largely.
I kind of thought you were going to say that because you you're doing like what you've always wanted to do, right?
I've always wanted to do, and I ain't no dummy. Like by the time this really sets sail, because it already, my kids will be older, and I'm going to get paid to freaking travel the world, and that I'll never retire if I'm doing that. So yeah. But I want to hear Nicole's answer because
I don't have one thing. It's part of the reason why I've like bopped around the universe, like doing a million things. So it would be a combination of. Let me say this: it would probably be something in the area of like historic preservation and art history, right? Because I love the things that I love passionately are economics and. There's obviously the economics of the art market. I love art. Like it's deeply personal to me. I love history. I love travel, like international culture. So like it would be some combination of that, but it would have to be co-located in a place with really good fucking food because I also love food, love to eat. Like eating is my thing. And I think it would have a twist on it because like if I don't have humor in my life, I would seriously die. So I have a feeling that I would be interacting with the public in some way around this. It wouldn't just be like a chemist in a back room, like, scrubbing like snot, statues in a museum or something. Like there'd be some kind of public education component of this where
I picture wherever you are that there'd be, or even if it's nomadic, there'd be like a daily, like 5 o'clock story by Nicole that's like in the town center, like on some fountain where you're just telling some fucking story or something.
Like a true crime, like a true crime podcast too, but about like the art world, even like the crazy things that happen in the art world, or like the crazy things happening in like some cultural, some like art and culture kind of thing, right? Like an art and culture perspective. So. Yeah, I think there's a lot. I don't know what that one thing would be, but it would combine those. It would combine those elements, And God help me, it has to.
And then the request. Can I put in requests? This request is like ongoing. There needs to be a writing component because
yes,
Nicole's writing is So something
able to write.
Something that comes out in the form of writing.
My travel logs were always the thing that got Erin.
She used to email us. So Nicole's lived in Jordan. She lived in Mexico. And this is back when email was it, right? And she would write, our friends, she would write us sort of a status update. And we were just like, oh my God, this is a freaking book. This is a book. Like, so travel blogger or something.
Think some of those out. Like, what I appreciate about this podcast the most in some ways, or in addition to the other things, is that it's like I've always been shitty at journaling, but I feel like for the last couple of years, I've had like a great sort of like audio journal of my life because so much funny shit has happened to me and great shit and interesting shit that I can't always pull off at the top of hat. Like there's so much. people often remind me of my own life where they're like, do you remember that thing you did? Or like, that was so funny. Or do you remember this? And I'm like, no fucking clue, right? I don't know if it's like too many beers or too many years, but I don't know. I just remember I have this great history in this podcast because I do share a lot of really personal stories because most of it is hilarious. And it's probably just because of the way like I live my life or like the people in my life, but I have a great audio diary. So I love that aspect of this and don't really ever want to lose that.
I'm all for it. We're ready, Notorious NLG, whenever you want that. Oh my gosh. Well, so I'm gonna bring a question in from our audience provided questions via the Facebook page. One of them actually I had already asked earlier on, so we had it covered. But we've been really gushing over each other, meaning the collective we, meaning you and Nicole and Erin. But what is the one thing that annoys you the most about the other and why?
You go. I want to hear this. Oh no, Erin, no. This is your baby. I want to hear you first. And I want to know, I'm gonna see if I guess it. Like
I think probably, and I understand it, but I think this is gonna sound super gushy. So I'm trying to be like snarky mean without being
fine. You can
like,
be mean. It's fine.
Nicole has so many talents and ideas, but bringing them to fruition sometimes is a challenge for her. And maybe part of that is there's so many directions she can go. So, things like the moth, I want you on the moth. Like I'm sort of selfish. Like I just think she has so many talents and she always has these great ideas, but sometimes a lot of times they sort of die in the vine. And part of that, she works a full-time job and she doesn't have as much flexibility as I do, but I think part of it's personality and it's selfish. Like sometimes I'm like, oh God, I wish she could.
That's exactly what I was going to say is inertia. My inertia, which is unbelievable because I'm constantly moving, constantly doing shit, but it's part of it is because I'm a perfectionist. And so I have this, and probably some measure of like ADHD or something. I have an inability to like parse things out to be like, this is more important than that. Like everything like that is not done is like this running list of things in my mind that are equally as important and need to be done all the time to the best of my ability. So like, somehow like, so not recording my sing for the moth is because that's harder than probably getting the laundry done, which is constantly doing. So I just do that and it gives me some measure of satisfaction, but it's moving forward. So what Erin is saying is totally true. Like, and it's 100% true. 100% true.
That Nicole, one of the best story. I mean, some of these episodes back in the day, maybe we weren't very focused, but there's just some gold in there. I mean, Nicole went to one of her partners. It was I
ran a nonprofit foundation at the time, and it was a community mental health organization.
Yeah. And then she literally comes on the podcast, like we're catching up from the week or whatever. It was like that day or day before or whatever. And she starts telling the story and I don't know where it's going to go. And she basically says, oh, like they were talking about the process and how they evaluate people. And Nicole's like, no, I want to immerse myself. Like I want to do the process. So, I want to understand how you guys operate. And so she like filled out some forms and the woman like quietly pulled her aside and she avails on the podcast. The woman's like, anyone ever tell you that pretty sure you're on the spectrum?
Yeah. Like on the spectrum, ADHD, the whole 9 yards. They were like, you're very high functioning. Because I went through this whole battery of tests and assessments and they were like, you're the person that like when you were a child, you probably should have been put in some kind of, supportive care or special programming or something. And they were like, and they were kind of fascinated that I was so able to sort of like cope and be competent because I mean, there obviously are things about me that like do make me stand out, make me unique. But also I function pretty well in society. And,
well, I function pretty well. I mean, for listeners that don't know and haven't followed, I mean, she's the valedictorian of her high school class and went to Yale and then got her master's at Johns Hopkins. So there's that. Yeah.
But, like it's something you can achieve and then something you can like use.
We are not worthy. We're not worthy.
High functioning.
No, I mean, that's amazing. I think there's so many but like those are the credentials, right? Like that was something I was able to achieve, to do for whatever reason. Like it worked in my like life and like how my life came together and like the opportunities presented before me. But like to really like to really function in life, that it's not just like a list of your achievements. And I think that that is one of the things that I think the podcast maybe brings to light to people. I hope it does, is that there are so many kinds of people in the world, especially in the working world. And we know, like, we work with this person and that person, and, this person's a pain in the ass and that person, whatever. But like, people just think differently. Like, and when we talk about diversity and we talk about like what makes a workplace wonderful and functional, all the things that are fucking frustrating are probably the things that, if captured well, are what make it wonderful, right? Working with different people is fucking hard. And different people doesn't just mean that you look different or dress different. It means that you think differently. Like, you bring different shit to the table. And really good, exceptional leaders and exceptional colleagues foster that environment. And I think people like me, and I know this, are probably not the easiest people to put into an environment where there is a lot of collaboration, right? But we have brilliance. Like, we have deep brilliance that is not that far under the surface. And we have incredible competence, but it's not easy always to, make us work in a functional environment. And I think that sometimes, that is like one of been my major frustrations with the professional world, is that it is not made for people like me to succeed. It is not an environment that wants really, truly excellence. What it wants is conformity. And that fucking pisses me off. And I think that that's how we got here today. Like, Erin saw it from a different perspective, right? They wanted uniformity and conformity. And like, the best one was really a function of maybe the simplest, right? And then we see, all these industries that are, like these viral industries, like, the Teslas of the world, that are led by like mad geniuses. And, sometimes they literally blow up and sometimes they do wonderful things. But these are people who are, not conformist with the rest of the world, and they're blowing everybody out of the water. And it's like, wow, look at what nonconformity can achieve. But to get back to the original question, is what
do you hate about me?
What do I hate? What pisses me off now?
Chaps my hide.
What pisses me off? Sometimes I think that sometimes I want to like think deeply about a topic, and you're just like you don't always want to like have like the deep dive or like think deeply about something, right? You want to like get it done, say it, beyond, move on to the next part. And I need to process in the moment by talking and working it out. And you're already like 10 steps ahead of me. You're like, I've done it and I want to move on.
Whereas the instant gratification whore, like,
let's get to IGW. I want to sit in the muck and dissect it. Yeah. Like, you're playing the game of life, and you're like, you've got the family and like the family sedan and like the mansion, and you're like moving on. And I'm in there playing like Operation, being like trying to get the apple out of, like, we're playing two different games sometimes. The IGW. That's funny, the IGW. I think mostly because, not that it's a bad trait, it's because, and I'll say this honestly, is how I internalize and how I feel about myself. Like, why can't I be like that? Why can't I, like, would I achieve more if I just stop holding on to shit so hard? Like, what am I trying to control? Like, what am I afraid of? Like, what am I afraid of? Like, what am I afraid to lose control over? So what maybe pisses me off about Erin actually pisses me off about myself. But isn't that always the truth? Like, everything is a mirror of everything else. Right?
We all do that, right?
Yeah. The mirror
ourselves. Actually, I wish I did that.
I'm sure Freud covered that.
Yeah.
I'm sure somebody did, right? Like,
I hope that wasn't too hard, right? Those are like, I mean, you guys obviously have
I can tell her she sucks all day long.
That's a book title, though, there, Nicole. There's we've got many titles for Nicole. Leave Me the Fuck Alone is one of them for her book.
Oh, I like it.
And then what you just said too, like, the thing I hate about everybody is probably the thing that I hate about myself, or something like that. I feel like that's a book too.
That domain registered right now. Oh, I will.
Yeah.
The thing I hate about you is the thing I hate about me.
Let's sell it.
How much time do we have left? Do we have?
Well, thankfully we have Rachel, so she can just make
it.
this magically be whatever it is. So,
because there's a few more questions I want to squeeze in here before we wrap things up, if that's okay.
Sure.
And this one, okay, so yeah, because this is a podcast for Gen X women, who are fed up with the bullshit, right? But we're bought into corporate. We all have regrets, right? We also have a lot of wins too. But I want to hear maybe from your past lives, current life, whatever is the most relevant. What is your biggest regret and how
Oof.
did you learn from it?
Oh, I hope you have one, Nicole, because like I have to think about that.
It's a tough question. I even actually had to try to answer it myself. And I thought, well, this could really lead a couple different directions.
Yeah, I have specifics and I have generals. Like in general, I had a scarcity mindset my whole life, probably because of my upbringing, poverty, poor-ish background. Like come from a place of scarcity, and like I have made decisions based on that fear. Like I was one paycheck away from being on the street, and that has driven me to make a lot of decisions that maybe I regret. Like, but also like I couldn't take some of the risks, or felt I couldn't take some of the risks that some people could in their career because I didn't feel like I had the support, perhaps. So, I have some regrets about having that mindset because in particular when you're young, like you have the ability to take more risks, right?
Mm-hmm.
And not every move I made was on my own accord or what I necessarily wanted. It still served me. So I'm not sure that there's any one specific thing that I would have done differently, but I think just generally speaking, that scarcity mindset has been kind of hurtful. I think in my personal life too, like I've really struggled with, like I have such a wonderful group of people in my life now, and it took a long time to cultivate that. And I really wish I had put time and energy into cultivating a big, bold group of amazing people around me that moved with me, like not a static group, but like a group that like evolved with me over time. I wish I had started doing that earlier because like the people in my life are the things that are, keeping me going. And it takes a lot of energy and time to manage those relationships in a way that serve you and serve them and serve the world. It's not easy and I'm not great at it. And I apologize to all the people I love who I don't give enough time and attention to. And many of them like like go, like sometimes they love me and sometimes they hate me. But that's because in general, when they're upset, I know it's because they miss me and they miss having me in their life and they miss what I bring. And that I treat my friends like our life is one big ongoing conversation. Like there doesn't have to be a hi, hello, goodbye, whatever. It's just an ongoing conversation that we come back to all the time. And that is something that like I love and I need and I wish I had done that earlier,
That's good.
with the right people, because I have spent a lot of time with the wrong people.
Yeah. Yeah. I feel you on that.
Gotta have your 5. I love that. I mean, our relationship is one big ongoing conversation, like literally. Like, and I love that about Nicole. It sounds silly, but like I only want to really have friends that like there's no salutation or anything in your text. It's just, if it's been a day or if it's been a year that there's not, hi, how you doing? It's just like, a random thought. And I think that's how
There's
we
no
operate.
apologies.
There's
nothing.
no beginning and end. I think what regret or what I wish I would have done so much sooner, for me, it's really about how much of this mindset, personal growth work I've been able to do since I left corporate and had the space, and wish I would have done more of that, when I was in corporate. And I can tell you all the reasons why I didn't, which are the same reasons why everybody listening says, I wish I did it more too, but I've got, 12 meetings a day and I'm raising children and I'm trying to get, but, I think I just made even more of an impact, whether that's as a leader or with workplace colleagues or for the company. I think I would have made more impact sooner for others, whether it was people I mentored or things I put on the social media on LinkedIn or other places. So it doesn't make me sad. I'm so glad because I do believe I've got a lot of life to live. But when I was in college, I was a math major and I had to take, like most people, some requisite classes, and you always had to take either like psych or sociology. And I was like, whatever, I'm a freaking math major. I got to take And I remember sitting in the class and it was like the second class. So I took Soc. And I'm like, you should just walk into this class. You should open up the book to the middle and it should say shit happens. Like, I don't get why the freak it matters to figure out why stuff happens. Like, that made no sense to me. And now it's like, now I'm like, the most introspective, like self-help, maybe not the most in the world,
that is great.
but finding the power of that. And I really just encourage people that are in the corporate workplace to, and not just leadership-y things and, good to great and that kind of crap, like the mindset work, the stuff that is like foundational to every freaking thing you do, whether it's at work, life, meetings, drop off, party, like that stuff. Or to
I am
yourself.
so sorry. That is hilarious. But my best friend, and when we were in college, she went to Yale as well. Like, she's so brilliant. She makes me look like an ant. But she was studying. She was a psychology major, and I was like a literature and pre-med person. And I were sitting and studying one time, and she's like talking about some like psychological thing, and I'm like, what the fuck? I was like, you're getting a degree in the painfully obvious. Yes, we both regret that. However, she is now dean of students at Fordham, and she's a tenured professor in psychology. And hi, Rachel. And she still has like her final exam question. Like, I think every year for her intro psych class is something to the degree of like, someone once said to me that psychology was the study of the painfully obvious. Discuss.
It's the painfully studying the painfully obvious shit happens. That's awesome.
Famous. That's what I endeavor to be. I want to just be like, I want to have minor fame. Like, I want to go minorly viral.
Minor league fame.
Minor league fame. I want minor virality. That's what I want.
Let's put that on our manifestation.
You should do that.
Thank you. Not enough that I can't go to ShopRite and get sushi, like, and have people like not look at me. I'm gonna be able to comfortably get gas in my neighborhood, and yeah. Well, I don't know if you can get comfortably anything in my neighborhood, but putting that aside, I want to be able to shop but still be known in the world.
So, let's wrap things up here. I've got one final thing that we need to cover before we go our separate ways here today. And that is some parting words and advice and some wisdom from the two of you. And so what I want to ask is, what is the best advice that you've ever been given and that maybe you still live by today that you'd like to share with your very loyal and eccentric audience of Gen X women who need a lot of great advice like me?
I did an episode. I did a solo episode about 8 episodes ago. We'll link that in the show notes too, of like the 5 mantras that like just keep replaying in my head. And I'll give you one of them because somebody gave it to me, because there's a couple. Some are like organically born from Erin's head, but one of those that was so freaking simple and has just provided me so much relief, I guess, is a story. I was working for the first time with an executive coach, and because I'm a instant gratification or fast pass, not sit in things like Nicole said, I'm like, I know all my problems. So like, she doesn't need to ask me a million questions. We don't have to spend, 3 hours digging deep. I'm going to build them.
I'll give you a down.
Let me give you the rundown. So this one came, it was the night before coaching session. I was preparing for a talk I was giving at a leadership. So we were doing like a big leadership forum for my company. I was giving the opening talk. I was getting prepped for that, or maybe it might have been different. Actually, I think it was an industry talk I was doing out in Vegas or something. Anyway, so I was prepping this sort of keynote-ish talk. And I remember sitting in my bed working on it for like 2 hours diligently. And then I got to the end, kind of the closing, and I had done all the work. I mean, I don't write it out, but I had bulleted, I had really gotten a framework, had gotten the slides. And then I got to the end, I'm like on the 1 yard line. And I literally remember writing in the document, some bada boom, bada bing ending. And I remember thinking, what the hell is your problem? This is a pattern. Like, you are so good at starting stuff. You are so good at working hard. But when it comes to the end, like, you have a freaking problem. And so I was like, I've got my coaching session tomorrow. I'm going to bring this up. So I go into my coaching session like it's, confession at church. And I was like, look, I got to tell you this thing. And here's the story, but this isn't it. Like, this isn't the only time this has happened. And of course, I'm waiting for us to then spend time on what are the techniques that I can use to finish things better and to not do this shit, right? And instead, she asked me a question, something like, let me ask you this, Erin. When you do these kinds of things that you don't necessarily finish, are you usually successful? Thought about it, and I was like, yeah, because me, I'm a winner. Like I do things, I don't do things half-assed. I do things great. I'm like, yeah. And she said to me, well, how about you just trust your creative process? And it was such a freeing moment. And what I realized was like what I had been literally beating myself up for years on and off, because I had seen this, I call it PP, a personal pattern, that I thought was laziness. Was the reality was it was part of my creative process. So for example, that one, the reason I didn't write the ending to my talk wasn't because I was lazy. It's because I knew, to Nicole's point, like I am kind of good at improving, and usually and now with my keynote, I have a signature ending story, but like I knew that I was better if I waited and improved and brought in things that I had learned that day, or, I knew. And so I think it's kind of different. I mean, I have all kinds of things that I preach all the time on this podcast, but for any of you that are feeling like, you have this thing and you always beat yourself up about it. But if you can take a step back and be like, look at the big picture. Am I successful? Either do I finish it eventually, or do I do things well? Do I do it differently and more powerfully because I do it this way? And I would say, trust your creative process.
I like that. That's amazing. Shit. That's not what I was going to say.
Well, it shouldn't be, because you're different. Trust your creative process, Nicole. And the answer.
Like, I think the smartest person I ever met was my dad. And he was just, he's my guy. And he said a lot of things, but like the composite of it was, we were similar. It was like, don't apologize for yourself. I was a natural apologist because of my non-fitting in issues. He's like, don't apologize for yourself. He's like, most people, like, they're not, either they don't care about it or they don't want to hear it. Right. So like, just don't apologize. Like, it's wasted words. It's wasted breath. And what he meant by that was like, don't, it doesn't mean like, don't own up to your mistakes. Like, don't take responsibility for your actions. But it was like, live your life with meaning and purpose in the things that you do. And the words will speak for themselves. Right. And that was powerful, because I often feel like I lead with an apology for like the things I'm about to say or might do or have done or whatever. And really it's like, what I'm trying to do is like explain who I am, like buy myself an entry ticket, because like I'm not the same person as everybody else. And like, don't do that. Like, I kind of have 3 rules that I really try to live with. I try to approach things, this is professionally and personally. I try to approach things with total transparency, which is like a version of honesty. I try to be consistent, like, because consistency is a form of control, right? Like when you're consistent, people know what they're going to get. Like they know who you are as a person. Like that doesn't mean you're not spontaneous, but it means that like people can have trust in you, right? Like they know what an engagement is like, and to be fucking excellent, just to like do my best at everything I do. Even this fucking podcast, 200 episodes in, like I keep showing up, right? And that came out of that lesson. But secondarily, because kind of like the Princess Bride, like there's always more than one lesson, right? It's not just like never get involved with a Sicilian when death is on the line. It's also like never get involved in the land war in Asia, right? Like there's always more than one thing. The second thing is from Erin's father, which is like, if you go throughout the day and you meet an asshole, they're an asshole. But if you go throughout the day and everybody's an asshole, you're probably the asshole. And that's some great advice.
That's great advice.
That's Erin's dad.
Well, it's my dad's favorite quote from like a movie or a show. But yeah, if you met an asshole, it's like if you met an asshole in the morning, you met an asshole. If you keep meeting assholes all day, you're the asshole.
You're the asshole. Right. Well, that's great, because all great life advice comes from movies, obviously. So it's totally fine. But It's
This is my dad's favorite quote.
it's all this is like it's all about the dads. It's all about life
is.
learning from the dad. Both of our dads.
Gosh, I should probably throw one out there for my father. He used to say,
Yes.
well, if you can't walk down the street, slap your ass and chew gum at the same time, you have a problem. He would literally say that. Every once in a while, my husband will say it. He's like, can you slap your ass and walk down the road and chew gum at the same time? He's like, well.
That's so good.
That is
And like
I don't-
slapping your
there's
own
sales
ass.
guy too. So
very
I don't
practical.
know.
I'm like, how would I do that? I was
Very. I don't know. Try it. You're gonna find yourself doing it one day. You're gonna think of
one
Bob.
day I'm about to like walk outside on Front Street and be like, let me give this a go. Let me try this. And be like, I got my gum. I'm like, I'm ready to rock.
And you do it. You're like, I have my shit together.
It's his name. Did you say his name is Bob?
Bob. Yeah.
We
Well,
have-
he passed away, but yes, Bob.
Bob, Dick, and Aurelio.
All right.
Yep. Those are some dope
Those are some
dudes.
words.
I
Yep.
love that.
That's great
is-
insight.
That's like episode 200 basically ends with a dare. I'm like, I'm out.
You got your gum.
Well, I think this was a great way to end this 200th episode. I think some extremely wonderful, great advice. So trust
Yeah.
the creative process, right? Or
Yeah.
your creative process. Don't apologize for yourself. And all the great wisdom from our fathers.
Absolutely.
And we got to learn so much about the two of you today.
Yeah. Well, thank
Thank
you.
all of our early learning. Thank you.
Thank
Yeah.
you so much. I mean, Heather,
This was fun.
you've been a super supporter from the
Definitely.
beginning, from like
And-
T minus, and to ask you just a couple weeks ago, like, would you want to come on and jam and ask some questions? Because we felt like it would be a good thing, and you were the first person that came to mind. So, yeah, and like Nicole said,
I am
it's about building
humbled
a
and
community.
flattered. Thank
Yeah,
you.
no,
I
you've
I
been
say
awesome.
communication's my love language. So this is
Yeah.
perfect. I guess it comes through. So
Yeah,
yay
thank
for that.
you.
Plus, I just like talking. So
Awesome.
It's not a bad way to spend a Wednesday night. Friends, do you have other friends? Are they adults? Are they out in the world somewhere? Please, please, please invite them to listen to our podcast.
Okay, dude, you sound like a late night, like 2 a.m. infomercial. Basically, what she's saying is our love language is ratings, reviews, and sharing the podcast. We'd love nothing more than if you would do that.